Alright. Alrighty, Rooskies. I believe that is on correctly. Oh, yeah, we're live. And I have to catch up on some stuff here. Let's watch him in the White House. And then after that, I kind of will revert back to Putin. I'm very, very curious, though, how this goes. Jesus Christ, it's loud.
Well, thank you very much. It's an honor to have the President of Ukraine with us. We've had a lot of good discussions, a lot of good talks, and I think progress is being made, very, very substantial progress in many ways. We had a good meeting, as you know, just a short while ago with the President of Russia, and I think there's a possibility that something could come out of it.
Is that where we should start?
Today's meeting is very important.
Probably not.
We have, I guess, the seven very powerful leaders from Europe, and we're going to be meeting with them right after this meeting, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. If I can, first of all, thank you for invitation, and thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war.
Stop the killing.
Using this opportunity.
Stop the killing. I agree. It's not great.
To Putin about our children, adopted children, and my wife. She, first lady of Ukraine, she gave the letter. It's not to you, to your wife.
I want
Yeah. So we're saying this sensitive topic, yeah. Yes, please. And thanks to our partners and that you supported this format that after our meeting we can have leaders who are around us, UK and France.
No, I have to keep my posture upright here. You're correct.
All partners around Ukraine
Let me
supporting
just-
us. Thanks to them and thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you very much for being here.
President Trump.
Do you think it's fair?
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Thank you, President Trump. So, President Zelensky, you say in a post on X today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say President Zelensky of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to, which is
No, I think that's true. I think they'll we'll have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a
There
trilateral.
we go.
And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
And is this the end of the road for American support for Ukraine? Is today's meeting deal or no deal?
I can never say that. It's never the end of the road. People are being killed. And they want to stop
Those are
it.
great
So
questions,
I would
Peter,
not
but
say it's the end of the road. No, I
this
think
is
we have
also a
good chance of
very,
doing
very
it.
thoughtful
It's
response
been
by the Dawn.
almost 4 years now that a lot of people were killed last week. A lot of people last week. I mean, millions of people killed, but a lot of people last week for whatever reason. A big number, a lot of soldiers, both on both sides. And
If you are a part of the Steve? I wish Steve was on here. What are you up to, hugeness?
As you listen to Russia and Ukraine.
Oh wow, the chat is so tiny in this scene.
I'm just here to be. Look, this isn't my
Huge,
war,
thank
this
you
is
for the
Joe Biden's war.
critique.
He's the
The
one that
involuntary critique.
had a lot to do with this happening, and we want to get it ended. And we
No.
want it to end good for everybody. We want it to end good. The people of Ukraine have suffered.
Did you get yourself a Steve yet?
President Zelensky, are you prepared to keep sending
There we
Ukrainian
go.
troops to their deaths for another couple years?
When do you want to do a dual TFT stream?
Thank you for your question. So, first of all, you know,
Because we should probably give up on escaping, I imagine.
A lot of attacks and a lot of wounded people, and the child was dead. Small bomb.
We know the breeder that Steve came from, so you can most certainly get get yourself a Yorkie if you so crave it. I imagine the whole mutt thing would probably interact pretty well with your own version of Steve.
This war to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war, and we are ready for trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good. Thank you.
Well, duh. Of course you want a trilateral agreement. And of course you want Dad to be there.
Willing to send American peacekeepers to Ukraine.
How on earth could you possibly deem this unfolding any better than if the three of you showed up to one round table? It is absolutely out of the question that you're gonna show up there with Vlad, by yourself, with your foreskin tucked in. I have a Rottweiler, probably wouldn't like Steve too much. Well, actually, Steve's brother Ben, I met her family the other weekend, and Steve's brother Ben lives with a Rottweiler named Gunner, who has hip replacements, but Gunner's kind of a big dork. He's a real big dork. And he's quite fond of little dogs. Just like me, just like you.
They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
President Vladimir Putin mentioned that the war will not end without addressing the root causes of this war. Have you had an understanding what are the root causes of this war?
The root causes of the war were NATO, and the root causes of this war were land expansion.
And this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end. I think the whole
Right?
world is tired of it.
No?
And we're going to get it ended. It was, I've done 6 wars. I've ended 6 wars, and I thought this maybe would be the easiest one. And it's
Hold
not.
on.
It's a tough one. A lot of reasons for it, and they'll be talking about it for a long time. But they'll be talking about the others. Look, India, Pakistan. We're talking about the big.
How did he end the Ching Chong War between Colombia and Thailand? I've yet to look into that.
Republic of the Congo. That's been going on for 31 years.
I appreciate that, Pure. Enjoy your time scaping. I'll be on Discord soon. That's my plan. But, anywho, appreciate it.
And this one, I think we're going to get solved also. I feel confident we're going to get it solved.
Love you long time.
Thank you, Mr. President. Can you tell us about your conversations with European leaders and what they need to see to support an end to the war?
Yeah, well, we're going to be meeting with a great representative group and 7 very powerful, very big countries and great people, all friends of mine and friends of yours. And we're going to have some suggestions made. They want to see peace. They would like to see peace. In the red.
President Trump, do you think it's fair for Ukraine and for Russia to achieve a lasting and durable peace if Ukraine cedes its territories that Russia hasn't yet conquered? Do you think it's a fair peace for Ukraine?
We're going to have a lasting peace. Just to answer the first part of your question, we're going to have a lasting peace. I hope it's going to be immediately. I hope it doesn't have to go on. And I think people of the whole world is going to be very happy when that's announced. Yeah, please.
Honest to God, if he pulls this off, like, let's compare him to historical figures, shall we?
President Putin, and it calls for an end to the war essentially because of
Shrinking the amount of time this war could have gone on for. I guess I should pause. I'm kind of an amateur streamer that way.
A similar letter being hand delivered to President Zelensky.
So the First Lady.
But the idea that he won't get a Nobel Peace Prize after subduing 6 wars, and then this war that has lasted 3.5 years, is fucking crazy. He could potentially go down as one of the greatest presidents to have ever lived, like within the top 5 of America. Absolutely insane that people discredit this man.
Felt very strongly Secondly, she's
money to finance.
Oh shit.
And this is a part.
Critical of you every step of the way as you
Oh
lead.
shit.
Letter from the First Lady, and very well.
Democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say
we're ready.
during the war thing.
Yeah, let's get on.
Since the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's
I remember that.
I apologize.
I fucked it up a bit. I guess I can't have a highlighter like that.
Zelensky.
In the same suit. You see, I changed you.
Oh, video.
Real quickly, upon peace, God willing we get peace, are you open to holding an election in your country?
Yes, of course. We are open for election, yes. We have to do safety circumstances. And a little
I don't know if that works.
We need to work in the parliament, because during the war you can't have elections, but we can do security. We need, maybe, how to say, we need a
Try
truth.
that.
Yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea, yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say
Legal
during
elections.
the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, shit. I wonder what the big.
I ought to replay that.
Do security. We need, maybe, how to say, we need a truth. Yes, everywhere, in the battlefield, in the sky, in the sea. Yeah, to make possible for people to do democratic, open, legal elections.
So you say
we're ready.
during the war you can't have elections. So let me just say 3.5 years from now. So you mean if we happen to be in a war with somebody, no more elections? Oh, I wonder what the big.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why he's the troll daddy. I cannot wait for the videos, the reports, the headlines to come out after that. Jesus Christ, is that spectacular.
Speaking of news, I got a question for you. This sounds insane for me even to ask this, but do you think the American media really doesn't even want a peace deal because they've seen they've been so critical of you every step of the way as you lead the charge for peace?
It's an amazing phenomenon. I said that in the settlement, you got Moscow, St. Petersburg, and thousands of miles around them. They would say, "I made a bad deal."
I just picked my nose, chat.
The level of hatred and animosity is incredible. Not with all. I mean, we have great people up here. We also have terrible people up there that I think are what to say. But in solving all of these wars,
Lucky's awesome.
I saw major wars. I saw wars that have been going on for 31, 35, and 37, and a couple of quicker ones. One that was going to go into a full-blown deal very quickly. You know what the one I'm talking about? It was a big one. But they don't even write about that. No matter what I do, no matter what, and this is not anything to do with you. It's probably to your advantage in a certain way. But no matter what I do, no matter what deal I make, from my standpoint, you'll come out good. Maybe President Putin will come out good. But they'll say, Trump was absolutely horrible. It's just it. And I've lived with that for a long time. I've lived with it since just before the first election. I used to get great publicity. Now I get the worst publicity.
It's genuinely wild how terrible he was treated prior to him running for election. Not just him running for election. If he ran for a Democrat, this thing would have been smooth sailing. But when he decided to be a Republican, due to the fact that the Democrat Party became retarded, the MSM just completely lost their minds.
In a landslide, so that people understand they're the only ones that count ultimately. But I've also had great reporters. I've had journalists that are very good. But it's very sad when you do the right thing. As an example, they said, because of the fact that Vladimir Putin came to American soil, this was a tremendous defeat for Donald Trump. No, it was really wonderful that he did it. It was a hard thing for him to do, to be honest with you. It was the opposite of what they said.
I don't know how you can disagree with that.
They say that was also bad for Trump. Yeah, there's no way. And there's just a great dishonesty of the press, and I think that's why it's lost its credibility. You know, its credibility is at an all-time low. We have a thing going on right now in D.C. We went from the most unsafe place anywhere to a place that now friends are calling me up, Democrats are calling me up, and they're saying, "Sir, I want to thank you."
He spelled the alphabet, but that's all right. I get it.
Time in 4 years, and Washington, D.C. is safe, and you did that in 4 days. I'll tell you, it's safe. I had another friend of mine. He has a son who's a great golfer. He's on tour, and he came in fourth yesterday in the big tournament where Scotty Scheffler made the great shot. And
Was Scotty Scheffler and Happy Gilmore too?
Dinner in Washington, D.C. tonight. I said, would you have allowed
I vaguely
that
watched
a year
that.
ago? He said, no way. No way. He said, what you've done is incredible. And I think the people realize it. But the press says, he's a dictator. He's trying to take over. No, all I want is security for our people. But people that haven't gone out to dinner in Washington, D.C. in 2 years are going out to dinner, and the rest.
I don't mind this. I just know how his opponents are gonna use it against him when he goes off on these tirades on unrelated subjects. It's whatever. I think it's fine. I just know how those other idiots are gonna respond.
Of what you called severe consequences if a 30-day ceasefire or any type of ceasefire were not agreed to by Russia. Will there be severe consequences? Does that change because you're
I don't think you need a ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war. I didn't do any ceasefires. And
Oh shit.
it might be good to have, but I can also understand strategically why, well, you know, one country or the other wouldn't want it.
Alright,
You have a
I can
ceasefire
see the
and then
chat
rebuild and
box.
rebuild and
Fucking
rebuild,
chill.
You know, maybe they don't want that. But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace and you know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. Would I like the concept, you know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these
That's a
deals
great
I made
point.
without even the mention of the words.
It's amazing the questions these media mechanisms can ask without actually understanding anything to do with war whatsoever. Yes, Walter knows nothing about war, but I can imagine that it's a little bit more complex than just starting and stopping.
To offer Ukraine Article 5-like security guarantees, but stop short of pushing for their full membership.
Yeah, well, we haven't done anything on that yet. If you look back and you go back long before President Putin, it was always a statement that they would never allow Ukraine into NATO. So that was a statement that was made, but we haven't discussed any of that yet. We're going to be discussing it today. But we will give them very good protection, very good security. That's part of it. And the people that are waiting for us,
I'm genuinely curious what that
I think
looks
they're
like.
very like-minded. They want to help out also.
Thank you, President
Are you
Trump.
disappointed there's no
The United
ceasefire, Mr.
States,
President?
the United States has already given hundreds of billions of dollars to this war effort in Ukraine. At best, it is a stalemate,
Correct.
and the killing continues. So, President Trump, how much more is the United States willing
Is this
to give
Peter
Ukraine?
Doocy?
And President Zelensky, how much more do you want?
Well, I'll start off just by saying we're not giving anything now. We're selling weapons. This is something before, I guess the number is well over $300 billion. That was under Joe Biden, a corrupt politician, not a smart man, never was. By the way, go back 40 years. He was not a smart man 40 years ago either. But now he's in particular bad. This was done by a corrupt administration that shouldn't have been in, and frankly, if the right results of the election were given, if I were president, this war would have never taken place, and he would have been very happy because he would have liked to have seen. I mean, they went through hell. He went through hell. This war would have never happened, and the people that were killed, a couple of million people, a lot of people with soldiers and everything else,
What is the body count of the Ukraine-Russia war? Is it 3 million? Or 2 million? Sorry, not 3.
I'm just saying that he was a horrible president.
Pretty
Whether it
wild
was the
fucking
borders
number.
or this, he was just a horrible, corrupt president.
Pretty wild.
I can thank you so much. So first of all, we have possibility now to buy weapon from the United States. We are thankful for this program and this opportunity.
I'll
We are
do
thankful
some
for your
Googling
money
after
paid
this.
for And through NATO program, for example, Pearl and etc. We have some programs where we can have some money to finance this, and this is a part. I think it's not a part for the war and to defend us. It's also will
I'll
be
take a
part
selfie.
for security guarantees to strengthen our army, to rearm Ukrainian army.
Oh,
This
that
is
ain't good.
very, very important, and it depends how much money we need to rearm.
Let's just see
For
what's
example,
in a
the
cell.
question of air defense,
I can't
of
listen to
President
Zelensky because he's a little bit
I'm happy that
annoying,
we
but
have now bilateral decisions and we work on it with production, American production. Nobody in Europe has so many air defense like Patriots, for example. We need it very much.
no,
and
he's
this is
gonna go
also
off on
about defending.
Patriots. I have a feeling.
I think the good news, we make the best military equipment in the world by far.
Yeah, it's not even close.
How good are they?
Systems, air
We have
defense.
systems, they're literally 100% foolproof, and it's really like shooting two bullets. You know, two bullets hitting each other in the air in a space like this. The chances, 100%. It's 99 to 100%. So we sell.
Have you guys ever been shot by a Patriot before?
And NATO does what, I don't know what the arrangement
Even
is
me?
that you have with, but I know that they want you to have the equipment. And we're getting the best equipment in the world, but they pay us for the equipment. Under Biden,
Yes.
it was just crazy what was going on. I believe
As long
the
as
number
they
is
buy the
300,
weapons, I think you should be allowed to supply your allies with said weapons.
And we've made more
Not
progress
entirely sure why that
for
would be
the last
controversial,
2 months than they made in 4
as opposed to
years. They should have been
just
settled a long time ago.
blindly dumping military investment into what was probably a lost war, as opposed to them like funding like the most advanced weaponry to ever exist on planet Earth. I don't understand that part.
Yeah, please.
Real quickly, you pushed out on social media.
All right, Brian, go first.
You pushed out on social media about doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you expand on that and how important
Well, that's a very off-topic, just really quickly.
That is very
Mail-in
off
ballots are
topic.
corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do
Can
everything
I
possible that
move past that?
most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure.
Ballots?
Mail-in, and it's time that the
Don't care.
we're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt. You know, when you go to a voting booth and you have a policy, if you have mail-in voting, you're not going to country. It was terrible. Thank you.
I do love his attitude towards it, but I just can't.
Need from President Trump to be able to make a deal? Is it American troops, intelligence, equipment? What is it?
Everything. Everything meaning American troops is probably not gonna fly, Vlad.
Ukrainian army. That's what I began to discuss with your colleagues, and it's a lot about weapon and people and training missions. And
Highly doubt that's gonna fly, Dad.
We will discuss with our partners. It depends on the big countries, on the United States, on.
I gotta listen to it, but like I don't want to.
Make American troops to that NATO-like protection in order to get President Zelensky to a deal today.
Well, I don't know if you define it that way, but NATO-like, I mean, we have people waiting in another room right now. They're all here from Europe, biggest people in Europe, and they want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we'll help them out with that.
Yeah,
I think it's very
that
important.
would be fine.
I think it's very important to get the deal done.
Making them do it.
You've been involved with the peacekeeping in Ukraine since your first day in the administration. What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this
Come
war ended.
on.
That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped. Very important.
That is also very, very important. That is literally the most important thing, and the singular interest of America. By far, that bar none. It's actually, it's not even by far. By far would indicate that there's something else going on beyond that interest. The only interest for America should be America. After that, let's figure out this Ukraine shit, which he's doing. And if they do it, I will be in such a state of shock and awe of this man. And I'm not even trying to be so sycophantic that it's absolutely disgusting. But considering the fact that Hillary Clinton said that she would nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize, says a lot. I'm very much looking forward to this week.
These meetings today, and we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues.
Can you imagine,
And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we
imagine Zelensky and Putin in a room right now. What's that gonna look like?
have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting my call when we're finished with this meeting. Thank you very much.
Alright, I'll let you guys finish this off while I go piss.
President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky.
Zelensky swung by a Joseph A. Bank in D.C. to buy a black 4-button. No tie, but he was spiffier. The press agrees.
President Zelensky, you look fabulous in that suit.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, you look good.
I said the same thing.
Yeah,
Isn't that nice? That's the one that attacked you last time. See, now he's
I remember that.
I apologize to you. You look wonderful. No, my first question for you, President Zelensky.
In the same suit. I changed you.
Why should we care what another man wears? Well, it's not about the fit, it's about the respect. And Zelensky stepped it up. After the blow-up, he was on his best behavior. He even remembered to say his pleases and thank yous.
Thank you very much for your efforts, personal efforts to stop killings and stop this war. Thank you. And using this opportunity, many thanks for your life, First Lady of the United States.
Z saw Vance in the room and wasn't ready for another tongue lashing. Instead of finger
Oh,
wagging,
shit.
they were laughing.
I didn't want this turned on. Yeah, we did this. Alright.
Here to align.
Hello.
Here to live now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. Let's turn our attention to the top story of the day, and that being President Trump meeting with Ukrainian leader Vladimir Zelensky and other European leaders inside of the Oval Office today. This comes just days after meeting with Vladimir Putin, the Russian leader, in Alaska, hoping to work on a quest for peace in the region. I just want to put up the most recent post from our president, from the commander-in-chief there, talking about working towards an arrangement for a bilateral meeting, saying, in part, he has called President Putin and began the arrangement for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and President Zelensky. He said after that meeting takes place, we will have a trilat, which would be good.
It's actually hilarious to me that Donald Trump has to get involved because he's the president of the United States to orchestrate this meeting, do everything involved as far as logistics go with this meeting. He has to orchestrate where the meeting's going to be located, just for the sake of, yeah, America's the world's dad. And when an actual dad is in charge, this is what happens. Russia and Ukraine are having a quarrel, and therefore Donald Trump, uh, arguably on the other side of the world from this war, has to get involved. I find that to be the most ticklish form of entertainment.
Two presidents plus myself. Again, this was a very good early step for a war that has been going on for almost 4 years. So this is the most recent update from the president. But just to give you a recap of what we heard today, plenty of meetings taking place in our nation's capital with President Trump and Zelensky. Let's take you out right now to Caroline Shively that gets us up to speed on what we heard and what we learned.
President Trump makes a big push for peace at a pair of highly anticipated meetings at the White House. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders arriving at the White House for meetings aimed at ending the war in Ukraine, and the stakes couldn't be higher.
The war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end.
President Trump is trying to get his Ukrainian counterpart to agree to a comprehensive peace plan centered on security guarantees for Ukraine in exchange for the recognition of land as Russian territory.
Okay, let me assess this. Ukraine. Okay, got it. That's the yellow part. I understand. Dobropilia. Okay. Pokrovsk. And Don. Okay, is that Donbass? Is that what that's like? Is that how Donbass is spelled? Mariupol. Okay, Russia. I'm assuming. Okay, assessed Russian control. Russian control before February 24, 2022. Putin's proposed Ukrainian concession. So we're arguing about this piece alone. There's no chance in fuck any of this shit, any of the red stuff. It's weird that he has his army kind of like spread over here and then like this little red drop of cum sitting here. Okay, wait. Russian control before asserted Russian control. So okay, this makes sense then. No, I get it. I really do not understand why you're not giving this up, especially considering, from my understanding, this piece of land, is it Crimea? This piece of land is ethnically Russian. So just give it over and relax. Stop killing people.
I'm optimistic that collectively we can reach an agreement that would deter any future aggression against Ukraine, and I actually think there won't be.
It's a tough sell. Zelensky points out Ukraine was given similar guarantees when it gave up land in 1994, but Putin attacked anyway.
I think we showed that we
1994.
And we supported the idea of the United States, of personally of President Trump, to stop this war, to make.
Why do you even want Russians in the first place?
But some European officials have said they see the U.S. offer to back the security guarantees as a game changer. And if they can convince Zelensky to sign on, the next summit could bring all three leaders together.
If this meeting,
it would be so wild if the three of them were in a room.
Guaranteed security strategy. We go to the trilateral meeting.
This burped into the mic.
The White House is emphasizing everyone will have to give up something in the negotiations, but it's unclear how far each side is willing to go to stop the fighting. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
All right, thank you so much for that. We saw a strong contingent of European leaders there in Washington, D.C., joined right now by University of Maryland Professor Josh Schifferson. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live and Now from Fox. Obviously, this was a major step to have Zelensky back in Washington, D.C. What was our initial impression of what we saw today?
What we saw today was a very positive signal from the Ukrainian leadership. Obviously, the last time he was in Washington, things did not go as planned.
He didn't have his suit on.
President Trump were highly fraught after that initial meeting. Whereas today we saw Zelensky come to Washington much more open to what President Trump has putting out there, much more open to the idea of reaching some kind of peace deal, and very open to the idea of a negotiation that would last weeks, not months.
Yeah, that is a very good point. I want to get into the most recent post from President Trump because he's talking about having a bilateral between President Putin and President Zelensky. That would be a very monumental step before a trilateral meeting. How big of a meeting could that be, and how soon could we see something like that happen?
Well, I think the current discussions are weeks, not months away for this kind of conversation, that we hope to get a peace deal in weeks, not months. In terms of how large of
Peace
a
deal
deal
in
this
weeks,
is,
not
the
months.
Ukrainians,
Yeah.
the Russians had conversations way back soon after the war began in the spring of 2022. That was between the foreign ministers. It didn't involve the presidents. The idea of Putin and Zelensky sitting down across the table from each other, obviously with some kind of U.S. support attached to the conversation, that would be a real game changer because these two leaders are those who are going to have to deliver on any deal with their people, with their
Where the hell are they? Chat, where are they going to meet? That's my question. If they actually, if they decide to sit down together, where are they going to meet? Where, like, what location? I'm, hopefully it's not a contested hot zone, but like, something neutral? What would that be? Especially if Dawn shows, maybe it's America. If Dawn shows up, it could be America.
There in Europe, how much are there sticking points? How much could kind of the land grab be a point that we can't cross, that these two can't come together on?
Well, I think the two major sticking points right now are obviously the territorial concessions that Ukraine is being asked very likely to make to Russia on the one hand, and on the other hand, the idea of some kind of security guarantee for Ukraine. This has long been a Russian concern. It's also an American concern. And it's unclear how far any of the sides are willing to go to accommodate each other. I think it's very likely that we're going to see some kind of territorial concessions by Ukraine simply by virtue of Russian control on the battlefield. What kind of security guarantees happen? Time will tell.
And let's get into that point because also in that story we heard time and time again something like this happens where there potentially could be some concessions in land, and that has not stopped Russian aggression. What's to stop them now? Do you think Ukraine is concerned that if they do give up this land, Putin will only ask for more?
Well, look, if I'm Ukraine, I'm understandably concerned.
Why is his... Why is he so foggy?
Tomorrow morning. But the flip side of it is Russia.
What kind of camera do you have? What are you living in? Like, it honest to God looks like you smoked 3 vapes prior to engaging in this. I don't know who your roommate is at this point, but everything in front of your face is the most terrible lighting I've ever witnessed.
Me too. That obviously did not happen. Russia has struggled mightily over the course of now 3.5 years to take territory just a few dozen, couple of hundred kilometers from its border. What's going to stop Russian aggression in the future is that Ukraine's ability to defend itself, to deter the prospect of future Russian aggression, to make the prospect of another Russian attack so inhospitable that no matter who is in power in Moscow, they're going to think twice about it.
And can I just ask you, because you mentioned the optics off the top, and there was almost a joke being made that Zelensky wore a suit this time. Do you think that was a thought that crossed Zelensky's mind? How important was it to make an impression like this to get President Trump on their side, to make sure a scene that we saw last time didn't happen again?
Right. No, it's a very good point. If I'm Zelensky, I'm doing everything possible to make
To
President
suck
Trump
his
happy
dick.
with me. That includes dressing for the part. That includes thanking the United States. And we saw him thanking President Trump and the U.S. for all-American backing for the war thus far. Because after all, if things go south and Zelensky is seen as unfriendly or as insufficiently grateful to the United States, President Trump has said he could just walk away. And that would be very detrimental to Ukrainian interests.
And there's also conversations we heard from different European leaders there, and it was a lot of leaders from the United Kingdom, from France, from Germany on hand for this. How important was it for Europe, and what does that signal to you to have all those heads
I'd
of
love
states
to know what
in
the
one
signals
place
from
in
you
such a
for
moment?
and from Europe.
They all wanted to be in the room because they were worried that President Trump would throw Ukraine over the side, and obviously that did not happen. I think the optics of having Europe inside the negotiation, inside the conversation, are critical because at the end of the day, it's going to be a primarily European problem over how to support Ukraine going forward. The United States has said repeatedly that its
What's
attention
the
is moving elsewhere in the
GDP
world, at
difference
home,
between,
over to Asia and
I don't know,
beyond.
Europe
And
in
so, in the
general
future
and
arrangement
Russia?
vis-a-vis Russia, vis-a-vis Ukraine, with regard to the future of European security, is going to be a European problem. So they need to be
The
involved in
fog
the
in his
conversation, if nothing
camera
else, because
is
they have to
so
carry the water going
unbearable.
forward.
Do you think they would want to be involved in a meeting between Zelensky and Putin? Do you think
No, they don't.
European leaders, are eager
They're
to get
all
involved in
little
that as well?
bitches.
Oh, I'm sure they're eager to get involved. Whether it's a good idea for them to be involved is a different matter. You know, the more voices you have in a meeting of that kind, the harder it's going to be to get an agreement. I think it's much wiser. I think the president's playing this rightly to have a somewhat small group meeting with lots of conversations before and after to brief people on where this conversation is going.
Can I get into a point where they're talking about a ceasefire versus a all-out peace deal? And of course, one you mentioned would significantly favor Russia in just a ceasefire, a pause in terms of that. How important is it to try to get that all-out goal of a peace deal in place and not just a ceasefire?
Well, I think it's important because it goes back to the idea of all sides giving something up. If it were just a ceasefire, Russia is currently winning, quote unquote, on the battlefield. So Russia would be giving up more than Ukraine. By moving directly to a peace negotiation, you're creating the conditions where everyone can see everyone else giving something up. So it creates an arrangement.
Ceasefire just means nothing but peace will transpire.
All right, my last question, Josh, before I let you go, because obviously a lot has happened in just
I'm so grateful for you viewers, by the way, right now. I could not be more thankful. TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Kick, I deeply appreciate it, and I wish you were more communicative with me, but let's keep this going, and then I gotta turn the oven on.
What are we keeping our eyes on?
I think we're going to keep our eyes open for lots of foreign minister, political counselor level meetings, so levels below those of the presidents. I think we're going to hear lots of chatter over various negotiations, various ideas being put forth in quiet channels of diplomacy. And then as we begin reaching some kind of consensus, or if we begin reaching some kind of consensus, I should say, we're going to see lots of leaks to the press. And that's going to kind of set the political space. So for a final haggling between, presumably, President Zelensky, President Putin, and perhaps President Trump.
Yeah, we obviously did not
Smoke. The fog of his channel is unreal, bro.
I appreciate your time. You're inside. You're on live now.
Alright.
Can now project that former.
I'm not totally sure I want to put an election on. Relive Trump's win. I think I'd put on the oven at 350. Battle River Crowfoot. Who is Pierre even facing right now? False Spirit Empress is officially unkillable. No, I explained Steven Crowder how bad it is in Britain. I kind of want to do that. Yeah, I kind of want to do that. Let's do a half-hour Steven Crowder Sargon of Akkad thing. Because I'm into the whole Islam in the West subject. So, without further ado, Walter is going to take a quick piss break. Alright. Sorry for the delay. Oh, let's learn about Islam.
Employer must not permit a third party
I
to
know.
harass a person.
Okay, guys, I know Steven Kraut did not have the most tasteful pre-divorce video known to man. However, I think he's still a pretty intelligent conservative dude, so I'm gonna listen to this. As well as him and I, we share a very strong passion with our lack of faith towards Islam. So let's tune in, shall we?
Who B is an employee of person A, meaning that the employer is the one on the hook if an employee feels offended. And this could be a lie. Do I have that about right, Carl?
Yes, that is 100% correct. This is exactly what they're going to do. It sounds like unworkable nonsense because it is, but the thing is, people have got to remember that the Labour government that we have they are just unreformed communists.
Europe has fallen. I mean, I hope he's okay with me saying that. I think that he agrees, and he's been a long-time friend of the show. He's actually one of the
Unreformed communists.
2016. You may know him as Sargon of Akkad, and that may not make sense to you if you're not a historian, but some people know him as Carl Benjamin. Let's bring on Sargon Carl Benjamin of Akkad.
By the way, probably in 5 minutes, I gotta put my pork burritos in the oven.
Carl, did I miss any plugs? Because you're all over the place. In a good way.
No, I think you got them all, man. Great to see you again. It's been a while.
It's good to see you. And look at you. You got a suit. When did the suit start being a thing? Was that when you ran for office?
No, it was after that. I got shamed by Calvin Robinson, a friend of mine, Christian pastor in America now. And he was like, look, we should be dressing nicely. We shouldn't be dressing like Yanks, right? And I was like, that's a good point.
Hey. You still have time to make up for it, because Carl used to come on the show looking like you were perpetually recovering from the night before. Like, what? I did a shot.
I was like, what? It's been a long time.
There's so much going on, and I was obviously raised in Canada, and it's a silly place. And I always try and point people here in the United States to the rest of the West, where I go, what would the left do if they had completely unfettered power? And we certainly see that in Canada. And for those, I want to get your take on this, but I do want to clip for people who aren't familiar. In the UK right now, there's a new bill that is basically on the verge of criminalizing. Now, you know that they've criminalized speech, people watching. You know they've criminalized speech. You know that...
yeah, the Tommy Robbins thing.
There's hate speech, of course, and people were arrested for doing karaoke covers of kung fu fighting at bars. But now, a new bill would potentially criminalize small talk at the local pub.
If you worked in a pub and you heard conversations by some of the people that you were serving that you found offensive on the grounds of race or gender, which this bill actually says, you could take your boss to court for not doing what you deemed as appropriate to stop it. So basically marching out someone from the pub for making a joke that you don't like.
Yeah, so when we're back here, of course, with Carl, just to be clear, for people in the States who it passed a pretty crucial step toward becoming an official law. They go through a parliamentary system there. And according to the bill's text, I want to be really clear, an employer must not permit a third party to harass a person who B is an employee of person A, meaning that the employer is the one on the hook if an employee feels offended. And this could be a lot. Do I have that about?
I just have to listen. If he's correct, that is some of the most linguistic fascist shit I could have ever begun to fucking imagine.
Right, Carl?
Yes, that is 100% correct. This is exactly what they're going to do. It sounds like unworkable nonsense because it is, but the thing is, people have got to remember that the Labour government that we have they are just unreformed communists. For example, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, when she took her office, she took down a portrait of one of Margaret Thatcher's economists and put up a portrait of the founder of the Communist Party of Great Britain in its place. Keir Starmer is also just an unreformed, I think they call them Pabloists, which is a strange strain of radical communists over in Britain. And he's been a student communist basically his whole life, and he never really grew out of it. And so everything you see is the continual resurgence of essentially what is the attempt to kind of recreate the French Revolution in Britain, to make it so that, frankly, there is nothing outside of the purview of the state. This particular bill is so unbelievably pernicious, because what this does is takes what is normally a kind of regular social interaction. Someone in a bar says something, the waitress doesn't like it. It's up to the boss to settle the issue. But now the state can get involved in just a mere matter of just a slightly offensive terminology or a word. And so the state has
How on
license
earth
to
are we
not only
here?
grow itself, but insert itself into everything, even the private conversations that people are having in a pub, if it's overheard.
Well, let me read this, because I think
I just want to be clear.
I just
really,
about paused.
really clear. Britain is not a country with free speech.
No.
When Donald Trump
Not
and Keir
even
Starmer had
fucking
a meeting about
close.
a month ago or whatever it was, and Keir Starmer just lied through his teeth, saying, "Oh yeah, we're very proud of our free speech tradition." He's lying. We don't have a free speech tradition, and we've got no constitutional protections.
right. It's just like that in Canada.
All you have to look at is Tommy Robinson. All you literally have to look at is Tommy Robinson. Anything you say towards an Islamic human being in that country that has a negative connotation is fucking objectionable. You could possibly be sent to prison and at the very least fined.
When I used to do the America is the greatest country ever, changed my mind, I realized I would have to make up other reasons, because if I said, well, I think the fact that we're the only country with free speech, like, that's enough for me. And people would go like, well, I guess it's a good thing. I'm like, oh, conversation over. But then we had to move on down the list, because I'm not willing to live somewhere where we don't have it. And for people in the States who may not realize, harassment, as you guys call it, you also say aluminium, don't know why. In the UK, it's
actually spelled differently, I think.
Over there in Canada, we spell like color with a U and things like that. Is aluminum spelled differently?
It is, yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
fine, we'll give
so
you
we're
that
actually
one.
not mispronouncing it.
No.
We've just got two different words.
Well, get to me when you guys pronounce R's correctly. No, it's not. You guys say it like a pirate. What? R. I guess I sound like a pirate too. Okay, that's a wash. So in the UK, it's
In
dependent
5
on the
minutes,
victim's
I'm putting that.
perception. So harassment
Pork
basically
burritos
includes, and
on.
this is a quote, annoyance, inconvenience, or anxiety. So, for example, a man was arrested for
Anxiety.
sharing a meme of pride flags arranged in a swastika because it created anxiety in someone. And we have so many other examples of this. So, I can give you an example of what just happened.
Just to be clear on that, all of the hate speech laws in this country are predicated on a person's subjective perception.
Right.
So, for example, all of the hate speech laws, you don't even yourself have to report being the victim of a hate crime. It can be if a third party perceives that what was said from one person to another perceives that to be racist or whatever it is. They can report you to the police.
Here is the biggest FAGGOT I could have ever imagined. Gotta go put this in. Be right back. Alright, Kears.
End up with a criminal record, even if what you said doesn't meet the sufficient bar to be regarded as criminal. You can still get what they call non-crime hate incidents. So someone somewhere has said something naughty. It's not a crime yet, but it's still going on some kind of record that the police keep on citizens who have not committed crimes. Honestly, people don't realize just how genuinely dystopian Britain is at this point.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing. This is communism.
Why are you protecting
In other words,
the ridiculous Muslim third world migration so religiously? Why do you want to fuck your country that bad? I can never. I. For a decade, I have not been able to wrap my head around why you are importing the destruction of your country into the UK. It's fucking bananas.
Point any restaurant, it just takes one person saying this. I overheard this and made me anxious, and now the government is in your business. It's like the IRS, only instead of auditing your personal finances, it's every interaction in your business. I'll give you one where I would claim this. I was at Great Wolf Lodge with the kids. A lot of fun, but by the way, they upcharge you. Hot tip: if you ever go to Great Wolf Lodge and you use the indoor water park and you take their towels and you don't return them to the kiosk, you take them to your room like a normal non-savage, they charge you $15 per towel. So on the third day, I went down with 12 soaking wet towels and fucking take them. Now, there was a black lady there at the little mining thing where kids, they do like old prospectors and they have sand and they get to mine. And it's just, the kids have a great time. I'm more happy seeing my kids have fun than I think I've ever been. So anyways, this black lady, they're very nice, older, portly. I do well with them. Sorry, man. I do very well with the old black lady.
I don't doubt.
My hair was all over the place. It was before I got a haircut. She goes, "You look like that. I don't even tell you look like that actor." And I'm like, "Please don't say."
Your old lady, like, you mean you got a new what, girlfriend?
She goes, "No, yeah, Wolverine. You look like Wolverine." I was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess I'm a mess." She's like, "Nah, it's kind of burly, sexy. I like it." And she had a wedding ring on her finger, so it wasn't really flirting. But that alone, if I was a woman, I was like, "Hey, you look like Odd Job," or whatever the hell it is. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that could be hate. That was just an interaction.
You don't even have to be a woman. You could take that to whoever owns the resort and say, "Look, that's something that's happened to me. I'm offended."
Yeah.
If you're a worker there, and again, with all of these things, it is ridiculous and it is terrible that it gives the government all of this power. But it's not the worst part about it, because people probably won't use this that much, right? There are areas of the country that are like San Francisco, such as Brighton or Bristol, where this probably will get used a lot.
Mhm.
But most of the country is pretty damn right wing, actually.
Right.
And so this will just be considered nonsense, and most people will ignore this. The problem that this creates is the legal liabilities and the business load, which is the real issue. Because what this is the state once again attacking business owners, and primarily small business owners.
Mhm.
Because, of course, large businesses will probably end up hiring some. I mean, it's not, and the government has literally said it's not mandatory to hire some sort of diversity officer for this, or some whatever they want to call them, woke officer to deal with this. But large businesses will, because what it'll do is give them some kind of legal protection and make sure that they can stay within the law. And it's a much smaller price for them to pay. But if you're a small business owner with like a dozen employees, you can't do this. In fact, I know I'm a small business owner with like a dozen employees. I can't do this. And so what this is once again attempting to centralize all business, all commerce, all things under not just the state, but a very narrow band of very large corporations. It's actually the same effect that we saw during the COVID lockdown.
Right.
Where the government locked everyone's small business down, but for some reason, the giant supermarkets were allowed open, the Walmarts were still allowed open. It's like, okay, but that's no more dangerous for spreading COVID than going down to my local grocery shop.
Right.
Why can't I just go there? It's like, well, no, they've just been banned.
Why can't I just go there? I like this guy. I just have a pretty terrible accent reincarnation.
Of your life.
Yep.
This is why it's truly communism.
Absolutely.
And honestly, there's just no getting away from it.
Well, because communism, right, is you have no right to your own business, right? It's about the proletariat seizing the means of production and distribution. Now, they know they're already halfway there with banks and with giant businesses that are too big to fail, right? They can't really do that with all the small businesses, because then it would look like they're going after the proletariat, to use the term, meaning the common working man. So to put a finer point on it, this is how you know it's the case. During COVID in California, you could shop at Costco, but couldn't go surfing. In Michigan, you could go to Walmart, but you couldn't go to an outside open-air farmer's market. They have lost the ability to claim that they are fighting for the little man. But yes, it is, because communism is all about the subversion of power. Communism, it's about helping people. Oh, great. What about the inventor of Tetris? Oh, he got run out on a rail. Most successful game of all time. If you guys ever watched, there's a documentary and a movie on it. He's not entitled to any of his own profits, but the government
I've never seen or heard anything about that.
I think Americans don't fully appreciate, because they completely take it for granted. here in the United States. And I think, Joe, you had a question?
Yeah, so, I mean, just going on that broader point, it seems like it's turning citizens against one another. It seems like a lot of these laws are kind of built for that. Do you think that's just part of the strategy, like lay the groundwork of turning the citizens against one another? It doesn't even have to be directed at you. You could just hear a conversation that could be offensive and you can take it there. Do you think that's part of the bigger play? There's this massive communist uprising, essentially?
So I think that it's important to remember that all of the people in our government, every single one of them is a f***ing so,
Did he say retard? I'm assuming he said retard.
I'm not saying that for a fact. They're genuinely thick.
I trust you,
You
yes.
can hear them talk on a daily basis. You can watch any of their statements. You can hear them speaking off the cuff. And you realize, oh, this person's an idiot, right?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't
Guessing retard.
ascribe to them grand plans or any future conception of what might happen. I don't think they're smart enough to plan for the future and plan ahead. I think what they are people. I think it really comes down to what the nature of ideology is, right? Ideology, if you think about where ideologies come from, they often come from people who themselves have no experience doing a particular thing. For example, in the case of communism, Karl Marx had never run an economy. He'd never been
No,
in any
true.
kind of office. He'd never done anything with his
Karl
life.
Marx
Rick
sucked his
Churchill,
dad's
and yet he
dick.
Exactly, and yet he comes out with this grand master plan because he doesn't know what he's doing. And so, what ideology is a way of programming people who have no particular knowledge or experience of the subject at hand.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what Keir Starmer is doing, the rest of the Labour Party's front bench, the government,
I
what
like
they're
this
doing
guy. He seems
is
pretty
they're
smart.
following a pre-programmed set of instructions. For example,
Obviously
they've
very
just
biased, but
reduced
he's
the-
very
or
smart.
They're going to, for the next election, reduce the voting age to 16.
Mm-hmm.
Now, nobody's asking for this. Nobody thinks it's a good idea. In fact, when polled, half of 16-year-olds just flat out say this is a bad idea, that they don't think that actually 16-year-olds are capable of voting for an elected government. And yet they're doing it anyway because it's part of this programming. They've got what it is kind of, we say communist, but that's not entirely fair because what it is a kind of liberal extremism, and so it's more tied to the French Revolution.
No,
than it is
distinguish
sort of
that.
1930s.
What's the difference between liberal extremism and communism? Please distinguish that.
Soviet communism. But it ends up looking very, very similar because communism is really the kind of most extreme form of liberalism. And so they've got this set of priorities. They're like, well, we need to make it so that if there's someone in the workplace who's offended by what a customer says, that person's needs take priority over the business sense of persecuting your own customers or whatever the next thing is. And so it does end up looking a lot like communism, but they're not smart enough to understand that's what they're doing.
Right.
Even though they've come out of the communist tradition. Like I said, these people are just not that smart.
But they are inherently, right, they do inherently know that, like you said, an uneducated or ignorant populace is easier to control and get into the fold. So, for example, like to bring in tens of thousands of Afghan migrants, which I'm sure will do wonders for your country, while looking at lowering the voting age to 16 so they'll be able to vote sooner. We saw that stateside, right, where it's import tens of millions of people.
No, hang on. So this again, what you're thinking is what a villain thinks, right? Because villains are smart people, right? Villains have a plan, and so they.
You don't think they have any plan?
I'm not joking. Right? Villains join up various data points and say, right, if I do this, this, and this, I'll get these consequences to this end. No, our
Correct.
government are stupid, right? And so they have separate layers of thought, right? So on one layer, for example, on the business layer, they're just like, well, we need to protect workers. This is for workers' rights, and that's compartmentalized. And in the next view, they go, right, oh, look at all these poor Afghan children who are all 16 years old with receding hairlines and grey beards.
Yeah.
Like, we need to bring them in and save the poor Afghan children. And that means we need to put them in hotels at people's expense and just hope they don't molest that many children, actually. And so they don't tie these things together. They're not thinking, oh, these people are here to be...
Want to know something that makes me mad is the fact that whites are the only race that suffer from ethnomasochism. Masochism. My apologies. I was just chewing on some vodka. I cannot believe that we sit here and just due to the color of our skin and our success that we put up with shit like that. It literally blows my fucking mind. God, his face. His face is flawless. You don't quite see it on TikTok right now, but it's pretty special at the moment.
Army to overthrow the state or something, or to overthrow the society. They don't think that way. They think very much in like what's directly in front of their face.
Yeah.
And so that's a question of, and really, it all comes down to the kind of dogmatic reign of human rights, because human rights in
Oh, I
Europe,
just about
more
paused
broadly,
again.
has been extended to all of humanity, in all places and all times, but for everything conceivable. So you get them saying things like broadband is a human right. You know, this is an extension of housing being a human right, and it's anything that you would like becomes a human right, and that means that any person who arrives on your shores, well, they're entitled to this too. So this is why the British taxpayer is currently paying £1 billion a month. So probably.
No, that sounds great, but like, okay, like imagine us, the whites, imagine the Brits arriving on ships to an Arab country on a boat. Please explain to me how that would all unfold and how greeted we would be. That is all I want to know.
1.4 billion dollars a month, just housing and giving benefits to foreigners, to people who are born overseas, and so we're pissing away loads and loads
Muslims.
of money. And I mean, I don't want to get into the scope of it because it's actually kind of embarrassing. Like, for example,
That's okay. We don't hold you accountable for your politicians. That's fine.
Oh, trust us. Everyone in Britain hates our government. Everyone. So I mean, like one of the famous stats that came out the other day is 48% of the government-funded housing in London is owned by people who are born overseas. So we are literally, through our taxes, battery farming foreigners in London for nothing, for absolutely no profit. They don't work. They're on benefits, and we are just paying for them to live here for some reason. And then when you combine it with the sort of assault on businesses, we wonder why Britain's economy is just dying on its ass. Yeah. We just throw so much money away. And the only thing that the government,
retarded.
This is another brilliant thing. When they came in, of course, when a new government comes in, they do a budget. And everyone knew the budget was going to be painful. And they were like, oh, yeah, we're £22 billion in the hole, so we're going to have to raise taxes. And everyone's like, right, yeah, kind of knew that you weren't going to cut spending. And then they raised taxes by $44 billion. And it was like, okay, well, hang on a second. What's that for? And then they started announcing things like, oh, we're putting $22 billion aside for carbon capture in the soil or something. It's like, so a black hole's worth of money is being used for some climate boondoggle. When,
Oh my
when
god.
we just can't afford anything anyway.
If there were people showing up on boats and you were funding their fucking hotel rooms and the government decided to spend your taxpayer dollars, not just on that, but on climate change actions and carbon capture, that deserves a revolution. That is the most insane, retarded shit I've ever heard of.
It's like this whole thing, this whole paradigm is going to start falling down itself. And man, you
think it will,
believe
though?
the kind of.
Do you think it will, though? Because here's the thing, because I will tell you, that's not going to happen with Canada. It's not going to happen with Canada. Maybe Saskatchewan, and and it's the closest thing that I've experienced to living.
I'm hoping Alberta.
European mindset. Yeah. And I'm at the point where people say, "Have you changed your mind?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've changed my mind on a bunch of things." For example, I think should be allowed in women's sports because women voted for it, women supported it. You deal with it. I think it's wrong, but this is the bed that you've made. Same thing with Canada. I go, you know what? You get the country you deserve, and at some point, maybe we'll take you over. That's where I am at this point. I just don't know if the people in these European nations. I mean, I hear what you're saying. They don't feel represented, but they do have other choices.
Let me explain. Britain isn't really a European nation. Britain is an Anglo nation, and so it's these rules are being imposed upon us despite there being no public mandate for this. The only reason we had a Labour government is because we were on track to get a Conservative government. Not that there are any bad.
I had to pee for this last 10 minutes. Not for the last 10 minutes. Alright. Fuck it.
But Nigel Farage kind of kneecapped them going in and took about a third of their voters, which split the vote, us being a first past the post country, and allowed Keir Starmer to get this kind of royal flush in the election. But that also meant that he got hardly any votes. Out of all of the people who could have voted, only 1 in 5 voted for the current government. So everything they're doing, and they're doing really radical things, it has no popular mandate.
Right.
And so at the moment, the country is a tinderbox. There was
A
the
tinderbox?
stabbing in Southport last year.
I haven't been in a tinderbox since I opened my phone.
Sparks of genuine civil unrest in this country. And the Afghan thing is just incredible, right? So under the Conservative government, because the Conservatives are just the Labour Party with blue stripes.
That is by far legitimately the worst, most infuriating issue that I could possibly think of on any Western front is Islamic nations invading, legally entering the West. I do not understand that. I don't care for that. They've done it to themselves. They can get absolutely fucked up their ass.
They decided what they needed to do is sneak in about 25,000 Afghans who had apparently, quote unquote, helped us in Afghanistan. Now, it's unlikely that's the case, and the Taliban weren't
Quote unquote helped us in Afghanistan. Fuck them.
They allow women in college now. No, that's right. Sorry, they promised, but no, my bad.
Well, they don't. I'm not endorsing the Taliban or anything, but like, you know,
although sometimes maybe they have a point. Their bitches aren't so lippy. Go
ahead. You know, they had a point on the heroin. Actually, they just took the drug addicts off the streets and put them straight into rehab. They were just like, no, we don't care. We don't believe in human rights. You haven't got a human right to be a drug addict.
Right. Plus, unlike fentanyl, it's natural. It's a plant, man. Continue.
But anyway, yeah. So the point is they've snuck them in, but the thing is they're entitled to bring their relatives with them, their dependents with them.
Right.
So it's probably going to
be
200,000 Afghans that our government has people trafficked into Britain against the wishes of the population, and they took out a court injunction to make sure no one was allowed to know about it. And it's only recently that this was overturned and we got to know. And so everyone's just like, my God, the levels of betrayal of the British state against the population of Britain itself is just unimaginable.
Why do you want them in there?
Like, we've got so many things piling on.
You are not importing good migrants. Why the fuck are you trying to destroy your country? It blows my mind.
With each other. We had an incident in Epping a couple of days ago where you'll be shocked to hear one of the people who broke into our country, an illegal immigrant. There are lots.
I'm gonna lose it.
Sailing across the English Channel, break into the country, and when they get about halfway through, for some reason, I mean, we're an island, so you think actually defending our borders would be really easy. Like the Germans never made it across. You know, the French haven't made it across those waters in 1,000 years, and yet every day
planes kind of screwed your plan. Yes.
Sure, but that's not the way they're getting across.
Right.
Every day, 700 or so men arrive on our shores, and our government just, oh, great, would you like to come in and sit in a nice hotel?
Wait, what did he say?
And would you like to? And our government just, oh, great, would you like to come? Every day, 700 or so men.
700 men.
Just, oh, great, would you like to come in and sit in a nice hotel? Would you like some spending money? And would you like to just be left free to roam around the country?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay, great. And so one of these men in a place called Epping in Essex molested 3 children.
No, that holds a candle to absolutely nothing
got involved
when it comes to the grooming gangs.
Hairy, and this has been an instant of incredibly high tension. And so what they've done is they've moved these people out of this hotel to a different hotel.
Wow.
And people have followed them there to protest at their hotel. Because the point is, we shouldn't be allowing foreign rapists into the country and paying for the privilege.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't... I don't need to make an argument. Like, you know, this is just something that should be assumed. And yet, this is what's happening to the British people all day, every day. And it has been for years.
It didn't help that they moved the pedophiles to Great Wolf. That's the worst place for pedophiles, putting them in Great Wolf Lodge. And it's a lot of fun for the families.
You know, this hotel that they were putting them in was literally down the street from a school. Like, it was literally, you could see the school from the hotel. And it's like, what are you doing?
Well, how nice for the Afghans to see a school.
Yeah. Yeah, and to give you an idea, it's not like this is a surprise. We play a game here sometimes where we just look at stories and we just have the headline. And we had one the other day where Lane the Brainy goes, hey, 8 men gang raped a water monitor lizard. Guess the race. It's okay. No one needs to say it. Whatever. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the answer.
The news version of ethno-guesser.
Yeah, pretty much. And I will say, I guess the primary difference with Canada and the UK is, or it's a parliamentary system, and that's why I always tell people, actually the two-party system, of course it's flawed, but it's closest to getting a view of the majority of people represented, because in Canada, unlike the UK, you're saying they only have 1 in 5 votes.
I'm gonna write something down.
The Liberal vote is kind of split between Liberals and the NDP. And the Green Party. There really isn't like a Nigel Farage type person who takes votes away from Conservatives, at least not to a significant degree. So Canada's gone. The UK, I don't know how you get it back.
I hope Canada's not gone. I'm still here.
It'll never happen. And I've talked about this for a very long time. So we did the Gift a Gun campaign here. Gun rights. And the reason that changes everyone's opinion is if someone goes out and just buys a revolver. If that just happens, and they go, oh, wait a second. I have now experienced that everything I was taught was a lie. I am now safer having a basic firearm in my house. It's not going to go off on its own, right? I'm not out to harm anybody. Yeah. I am safer, I am protected, and that turns more people at least open to the idea of, okay, maybe the government is not looking out for me. I wish there could be a groundswell in the UK on that. I mean, I know you guys are allowed hunting rifles and things like that, but the culture...
Yeah, we do actually have millions of guns here. It's just that they're in the hands of farmers because they use them to farm. They use them to kill pests and whatnot.
Right.
But Britain is different. In particular, England is different in that since World War II, there's been a remarkable amount of moral unity between the people and the government. We saw that fighting the Nazis as a unifying moral agenda, and it was assumed, and probably with a fair reason, that the government was basically on your side and was going to do the right thing. It's only since sort of the turn of the 21st century that the government has decided actually maybe communism's a good idea and I'm going to give that another go.
Right.
And has been
I don't understand the mentality with government and
and it's got
like why that could possibly, like that's hip with the people that are posting these things.
Because we've been under the same kind of regime for the last 25, nearly 30 years. So there's just no one else to point the blame at. And the parliamentary system actually is not as bad as you think. A lot of people are very sour on it, but we have some advantages actually on this, because, for example, when you have winner takes all, all people have to do is actually change their mind. Right? Mm-hmm. The parliament is also the sovereign of the country in de facto, and so the parliament can do anything. We don't actually have a constitution that they can appeal against. So says, right, okay, this is all changing. We're just kicking all of these
desperate,
out.
happy,
European Court of Human Rights nonsense.
Looking forward to. I'm genuinely. I'm also concerned because I might not get my way, but they need to go the Tommy Robinson, the September 13th way. They need to have this free speech convention, and anyone that believes in Sharia law needs to absolutely get deported. And anything after that, yeah, let's move Islam out of the West. Let's do that.
There's actually nothing they can do, and all it takes is for about a third of the population in any one constituency to say, right, I'm voting right wing, that's it, I've had enough. And the country can flip overnight. So really all it takes is for people to get sick of it. Mm-hmm. And I tell you what, man, the average Englishman at this point is a lot more radical than their government. They have no idea how pissed off people are.
What about the bitches?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
all of the women I know are... I'm not even going to repeat some of the things they say. They're quite angry that there are foreign men threatening the children of this country. Mm-hmm. They're pretty angry about it, so they don't want it.
Is it going to translate?
That's correct. That's literally the exact thing Asmongold was talking about. That's absolutely the only thing that should be even discussed when it comes to how the fuck are these movements even galvanized in the first place. And how they're galvanized is through white women getting empowered by like white dudes that can't get laid. So then all that they do is embolden the white women that could not get laid in the first, or sorry, they embolden the white women and they hope to get laid after that point, and as soon as that transpires, they